Welcome to the Treasury Elite Entrepreneur Series. I would like to thank all our viewers and members for supporting this noble cause, Treasury Elite, whose main objective is networking, knowledge sharing. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Abhishek Goenka, founder and CEO of IFA Global, bringing world-class FX, treasury, and financial transformation for companies across India over the last 15 years. Today we have Mr. Ashish Chauhan, MD and CEO of BSE.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Chauhan is the MD and CEO of Bombay Stock Exchange, first stock exchange of Asia. He's one of the founders of National Stock Exchange, where he worked from 92. Best known as the father of modern financial derivatives in India. He did work at NSE. He's credited with reviving Bombay Stock Exchange, including making it the fastest exchange in the world, with less than 6 microseconds response time, introduction of mobile trading, first time in India, state-of-art online real-time surveillance system, introduction of several market-leading products like currencies, mutual fund, corporate bonds distribution, etc. Is also instrumental in setting up India's first international exchange, and completed the IPO of Bombay Stock Exchange with a record subscription. Won many accolades and awards, including distinguished alumnus awards from IIM Calcutta and IIT. He's been advisor to various committees like RBI, Government of India, IMC, SEBI, CII, CBDT, etc. Welcome, Mr. Chauhan. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Very well. Happy New Year to everyone.
Glad to have you today as a part of the Treasury Elite Leadership Series. The next 35 minutes, we would love to learn from your experiences. My first question to you, sir, is I talked to a lot of global CEOs, and one common thread I could link that they are just not doing this for the money. I would like to ask you that what is the one single biggest reason for you to get out of bed every morning and get yourself to work? What is it that drives you today? Or if I may ask, what is your why?
In a way, as you rightly said, most people don't do it for money. They also have many other motivations, including power or ability to do something positive to people around them, people in the world, and so on and so forth. And just to stay occupied. In some ways, there are many motivations every day when a person wakes up from the bed, realizes. So in some ways, for me, all of them kind of go through those issues I go through in many times during the day, and which one overtakes the other, you never know. But in my own life, I have been working pretty much 12-14 hours a day since I started doing job. That is 1991. So effectively, I don't come from privilege. My parents were both government servants and no business. And so at least I was sure that I had to work hard and do whatever comes my way. And that's what basically motivated me in those days. And in some ways now, when I look back at some stage at around age 30, I said, no, I will not work for money. I will work for what I like. That phase lasted pretty much more than 22 years. I am almost 53 now. And so it's interesting how when you stop working for money and working for what you like, money also starts coming. So it's interesting how these things happen, but that doesn't mean everyone should try this. Ultimately, to run, if you don't have the balance, and I can talk about it very easily because I have reasonably good balance to survive for the rest of my life. And so in some ways, I don't need money. My needs are limited. Not that a billionaire doesn't need one more billion. It's just that I don't require much money to live, neither my family. So we are happy in a position where you want to do something positive, whatever the society gives you in terms of the responsibilities. And that's what the stock markets is something I have been part of for my entire career. I set up the modern infrastructure for the stock markets and the Nifty and the derivatives and equities trading on screen and many other things. So this is like a second nature to me, running stock markets and running them reasonably, what I call in a efficient way without any hiccups. That's what I think the stock markets should do. And since I know it, it's not an easy job for most, including for me. But it is exciting. It adds something to the society, and that keeps me going every day. And every time, literally, when I woke up at 4 o'clock to catch a flight or go out during COVID, because we didn't even stop the market during COVID. And my wife is a doctor. She also works in hospitals from day one in COVID also. But she says, why do you want to work? You have so much money. And why don't you kind of give up? And last almost 12 years, I have been in this place in BSE pretty much each week. At least one she tells me. And I said, okay, probably we'll look at it next week. And so I continue to go as much as I can contribute. But if I don't have this job and not any position, still I will continue to work hard as much as I do. So I don't think position has much to do with the hard work part of it. It may be that you may be able to contribute less if you don't have that position. But otherwise, I think life has been kind. The society has been kind to me specifically, that it allows me to do things which I like.
Sir, we all know that you have been actively involved in bringing so much of innovation across. What are the major innovations and practices do you think that Indian exchanges or Indian other financial platforms should come up in the next 5 years? What are the things that we should learn from the developed and much more matured markets? Try implementing it fast. Any thoughts?
In a way, there is a tradition to, and that is also a way to look to so-called mature markets for guidance. It is like walking in somebody who is seemingly successful in their footsteps. But if you do that, you will always be behind them. You will be always be, you have to leapfrog, right? And so when we started thinking about setting up NSE in 1992, 93, we had good role models in form of New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ and all. And they were all floor or phone-based. NASDAQ was phone-based. And you got the quotes on screen, but if you had to trade, you had to call up the other guy. On New York, it was phone. So when we started thinking that if those guys, the rich guys, the best and the brightest, Europe, all of them are doing floor, should we be following floor? But we had floor in BSE and other exchanges. So we said, no, we will not follow them. We will think for ourselves. Of course, we must learn from others. But that doesn't mean we have to blindly follow them. And we created a system which was screen-based order matching system. And it became very successful that other people followed later on. So New York, NASDAQ, London, all of them became automated because Indian markets became automated. NSE, BSE, both in a very quick succession. Why I'm telling you this is, following is a good thing. Learning from others, a good copy is better than bad original, right? So it's always important to learn from others' mistakes. But that doesn't mean that you can't innovate yourselves. So for all of you who are sort of trying to do something good for their lives and also for the society, don't think that the rich societies have much to offer you, or following them will make you rich. It happened to telecom also. I worked in telecom when India had 4 phone lines for 100 people. And it was always being said that if we have 30-40% telecom penetration, our GDP will increase by 2% per annum for the rest of our lives. And now we have more telecom penetration in a very short time. But if we had gone their framework, of landlines, it would not have happened, right? It would have taken us probably 1,000 years, given the way the digging happens in all our cities, right? And so, effectively, for me, copying somebody, I can be impressed by somebody's richness, but following him or her may not bring me anything. It may only get me misery. So, idea is to learn, figure out what is the what I call technological space-time framework at that point in time. And those guys have not gone ahead because their systems have got stuck in the past. They automated, like their banking system automated in 1970s and 80s. So they're stuck in mainframe. Later on, the client server came. Our banking system got stuck there. Now we have also become legacy. How do you continue to move forward with newer, the latest, and so on and so forth, is what I have learned from others, that despite being a poor country per capita, today we are pretty much the largest user of bandwidth in the world. We are also the largest user of videos in the world, for that matter. We are also the most automated stock markets. We are also the most automated banking system. We can continue to hate ourselves and our systems for whatever we think, because America looks like heaven or Britain looks like heaven. They are not heavens, boss. Heavens are places where you get more choices. And today, by quirk of fate, by coming in late, by some smart implementation, India is pretty much now leading the world, especially in financial systems, not only markets, but even the banking system, in the payment systems, everything which they call fintech, even in US, they are like 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years behind us. China used to be another role model using WeChat and Alipay and all. But when I meet those Chinese guys, they say, boss, your system is much better because they are designed monopolies. Their government decides who goes up and who stays there. Here, we have created our UPI, which allows everyone reasonably good access, right? And so be proud of what you have achieved as a country. And you have a long way to go. We can't be sitting on our laurels of last 25 years, what we have achieved. We still have bad infrastructure in terms of the physical infrastructure. The logical infrastructure, we are pretty much very, very good now, even government services and all. Of course, we need to improve quite a lot, remove corruption and all. But overall, I can tell you, when I look back in my life, and now it's like a different India, right? 30 years back, you don't know how life used to be. To start a business, you have to take so many licenses that your few lives will go if you are not from the wealthy and the connected, right? Today, you and me can start anything and do anything, right? So those are the blessings we have got, and we have to build on them, right? And I think onus is on all of us to take the best ideas, develop some of our own, and work on them.
So we'd love to know about your journey over the last many years, major highlights, and your major three learnings over these years that you would like to pass on to your young colleagues.
In a way, my life has been a series of accidents. And I didn't resist, or probably I resisted some of them. But broadly speaking, I took life as it came. I studied in Gujarati medium school till class 12. So I am pretty much what I call, nobody would have thought I will go to IIT. But I went to IIT and it was a disaster because the teaching medium was English. I couldn't even speak. And I became what I call a very insincere student because I knew that I can't succeed, right? But when I gave my post-engineering exam for the master's GATE, I got very good marks. And I realized either I am good or other people are bad. Whichever way, but I had by the time decided I will go to management because I was good at managing festivals and youth festivals and sport festivals and all those things. So I went to IIM Calcutta. And I was again not a very serious student there. But as soon as I joined job, I became extremely serious for reasons only God knows. I can't even fathom why did I become so serious in life. But most of my school friends and college friends don't think I would even work And that kind of student I was. And suddenly here I was working like 16, 18 hours a day in IDBI. And IDBI those days was pretty large compared to rest of the economy. And then IDBI was told to set up NSE. And I had by quirk of it, I had a reputation of being an IT whiz, which I was not because I'm a mechanical engineer. But I could work on spreadsheets. And those days, nobody could because the computers just come in new. And that's why people thought I'm very good at IT. And that's how I was selected as the only engineer in the NSE 5 people team from IDBI. And so the life changed completely from being a project finance person to a guy who was setting up NSE with nobody knew what it will be. It was just a name with no ideas. And from there, things became very successful in a very short time. And that time I understood the power of technology in some ways. But when the NSE was set up and I was running the equities market, I set up the equities and the swing-based trading, but I was also running the IT. And so I was given a choice saying that now NSE is becoming big. So what do you want to do, IT or finance? And I said, no, I don't want to be IT guy. I want to be finance, right? And so I tried to run away from IT. And I, of course, then set up the Nifty and derivatives and all. That is pretty impressive. But in 2000, I decided that I need to start on my own. And there were circumstances where I had to kind of move out. But I started a B2B e-commerce exchange called exchangenext.com, which was funded by Reliance. And I started that exchange, and after 1 year, the e-commerce went down in the world. And now Reliance stopped funding that. And I had already spent a lot of money. I had 100 people team. And we had very good technology and very good markets, but it didn't work out. And I was now from being the top in NSE, in a year's time, I was on the road with 100 people's responsibility. But Reliance said, no, you guys are not successful, but you can work with us in our telecom project. And so we started being useful. They kept our salaries on. And so you are trying to be useful just to justify your salaries to yourself, right? And at some point in time, they had a problem in their billing system. They had a 501 scheme where they had like 1.5 crore customers. And bills were not going right. And so one day, Mr. Ambani called me saying, what does a CIO do? And he had seen me for 2 years as an entrepreneur and also as an employee. And so I went to my desk, copy pasted from the internet job specs for the CIO, went to him next day. He looked at it and said, okay, you are the CIO, now clean up the mess of billing. And that's how the trust which he had on me, I mean, I could not have said him no, right? So I started working on it, and I was successful in cleaning up the billing part in 6 months' time. And from negative 15 crore a day EBITDA negative, it became 15 crore a day EBITDA positive. So it was like a total turnaround just using IT with no new softwares and all. But then he thought I am great at IT, and I was trying to run away from IT, right? So, and then when the brothers split, I somehow then resigned from the Reliance Infocom those days and went to Reliance Industries. And then he said, now you are the CIO of the Reliance Group, which was more into the chemicals and petrochemicals and oil and gas. And they were also setting up retail. And so I had to kind of relearn those engineering things. And we had plants across the world. And so it was another amazing stint. But then one day he said, okay, can you do public relations also? So I ended up doing public relations also. Then one day he said, can you run cricket team? Because you like cricket. And so I started running cricket team also. So, and I did IPO of Reliance Petroleum and many other things. But effectively, everything came not because I asked for it or I thought I was uniquely equipped. It's just that somebody trusted you, right? With that. And you could have always said that, no, sir, I want to make my career in this. and when I'm a finance guy and I will not do this. Instead, I ended up doing everything, and it was so fun just because I had no expectations, and probably boss had expectations, but I had no expectations. And everywhere, uh, probably bosses knew, or bosses always give you more responsibility. If you do better, then they give you more and more and all. And that's what happened to me. But if I had planned my career beforehand, I don't think it would have happened. And then in 2009, and so we had also, my family owned a small software company which was providing software to stockbrokers. That was bought by BSE, but at the end they put a condition that because of my reputation of being the father of derivatives, they wanted me to work with BSE at least for 1 year as a part of the deal. And so I went to BSE for 1 year as a dowry for kind of selling off the company. But then I stayed back, and now it's almost 12 years. So, and then I was made CEO. So it's a very difficult story to explain, difficult career choices, being the CEO of Mumbai Indians to the CIO of the Reliance Group to the best CIO in the chemical industry in the world, or whatever. For me, all those things are in a way symbol of what you were trying to do. And one thing I realized is if you are given even a room to clean, if you do the best way, if you use your brains, use technology, people do recognize you, right? You don't have to sort of try to scream. I don't speak much usually for myself, or nobody does for that matter for myself, because I'm very shy in that way. But your work somehow gets recognized, not immediately, probably some later time. But if you are able to produce what the team wants, and for that you need to give up your personal ambitions, personal interests in the for the interest of the team or the organization you work for. When you are very selfish, I think you end up making suboptimal decisions. And that's where otherwise the skills are easy to learn probably. But that selfish motive is not easy to give up. And that's what my lesson is, that I tried to run away from IT, but IT continued to go after me. And that was the long-term trend that took the world into a different zone, different orbit. And it took me also into a different orbit. So, I mean, imagine if I had tried to become an IT man, probably I would not have been that successful. But I was since on many sides of IT, along with finance, along with chemicals or telecom or many other things. Probably I got to see more colors of life. Probably I have seen 10 times more color than any other person in my age group, because I mean, in a way I was flexible.
So rightly said, sometimes you have to just connect the dots, and life just throws various opportunities and challenges in front. Sir, one life-changing personal experience for you. How did you evolve post that?
I think, I mean, I've had many life-changing experiences, but and from childhood onwards. But I think one of the larger HR lessons I learned was from my chairman of NSE those days, Mr. Nadkarni. He was also my chairman in IDBI, and he had retired from IDBI, and NSE was a very small little team of 5 plus one person, Dr. Patil, who was the MD. And then Mr. Nadkarni retired from IDBI and joined NSE. And he was like a giant in Indian financial sector. And in some ways, I mean, I was the only IT person, I mean, only engineer in the team. So one day I was told to go to US and other countries to check out on the satellite telecom systems which were on offer. And so I went to the US embassy and presented my passport. And I had already been rejected for visa from US because of my family, which had already migrated. And they didn't want to give me visa because I was a Gujarati, young, unmarried, and they thought I will go and stay there. So they rejected that before also. but even during the NSE days. And so I went back. So Mr. Nadkarni said, okay, go and present yourself again. So I did that, and again they rejected that. And then he called up the US ambassador, invited him to a small little NSE office, introduced me to him, and then later on uh, told them that if this boy doesn't go to US, we'll buy the technology from some other country. And those days in 1992, 93, US was pretty much ruling everything. Today, US is very different vis-a-vis those days. And he uh, told me to go again. Again, I got rejected. And then they talked to the commercial attaché and all. He gave a personal letter uh, saying that this boy will come back. I'm giving a personal guarantee. And the visa was granted on special grounds. But that boss who was putting his entire life's reputation on a young boy coming back, whose family had already migrated to US, was something which, when I look back, not many bosses do, right? And that visa officer asked me that in India, all the decisions are taken by elderly. How is it that a 25-year-old young guy is going to take such a large decision? In those days, 100 crores was a very large decision. And I said, you have to ask my boss. I don't know why I have to take a decision, but he made it very clear that if this boy doesn't go, we will not buy from US any technology. And that kind of backing to the employees is, in some ways, they motivate you so much, is unbelievable. Similarly, once I was the head of IT for Reliance Group as Group CIO and President. And one of our plant IT head in Surat, Hazira, he collapsed on the floor due to medical condition, which was pre-existing. But Reliance Gujarat head and I discussed, and he had to go to Bangalore. He had to be flown to Bangalore for a particular operation. And we took a decision to use the Reliance helicopter to bring him to Bombay and then fly him into Bangalore, because there was no direct flight those days from Surat to Bangalore. And so in the evening, while meeting Mr. Ambani, I sheepishly told him that, sir, my colleague collapsed on the floor and we shifted him this way. And he said, yes, correct. In your place, I would have done the same thing. And he kind of, for a plant IT head, which is not a very high position, but every day later on, he'll ask me what happened to, with the name saying this colleague. And so that is basically what that leaders do to people, that they back them up once they know what your situations are, right? And for me, there are so many such incidents in my life that sometimes I think I have been lucky to be part of those incidents, or to witness all these things, that how the love, affection, which leaders bestow on the people, that motivates the entire organization.
Sir, my next question to you was with this only, that what are the most important things that create a world-class institution? And what impresses you most when you hire people?
I think the world-class organization is built because of a common shared purpose and culture of excellence. That you don't relax for a moment. Every moment in the modern world is important. It's like driving a car. When you're driving the car, you can't take your eyes off for even 2 seconds, because in that 2 seconds, you will be traveling 100 meters or 200 meters, right? In the meantime, you can create an accident. And similarly, in modern life, like my own organization, our response time is officially 6 microseconds, but we give you response usually in 50% of the time at 2 microseconds, which is in 1 second, there are a million microseconds, 10 lakh. So we give you a response at 500,000 of a second. Now, at that speed, what can you do if something goes wrong, right? It has to be that alertness of the persons who are doing it. And if the boss thinks he's going to take all decisions, that is not possible, because boss cannot be present everywhere. And so I think that common shared purpose, that alacrity, that alertness, that agile framework, because so many things happen, new things, that if you don't keep on adding them into your organization, technologically, business-wise, products-wise, that in 5 years' time, you may be still doing exactly even excellent work in running the organization. But if you don't add, in 5-10 years' time, you are nobody, right? That kind of speed is happening. And so that agility, that alertness of not allowing things to go wrong, having that pride in your work, in your organization, in that common shared goal. And for that, the organization has to create that pride and purpose. If the organization thinks it has no purpose except to make money, that organization will not be able to create that pride. For me, the pride is over and above the money part of it, right? And so the organization has to create, and then people, even the old people who were not so responsive before, start responding so well. That is unbelievable. And for me, when we hire new people, we basically worry about more about their fitness into the culture, because again, each organization its own culture, and our culture is basically integrity at BSE, that we have to be above anything, because if people don't believe in you in the markets, if people don't have trust, then there is nothing else you could actually manufacture. We manufacture trust at BSE, right? And so those people have to bring with them. If you raise them from within, then they are aware of your culture. But if the people have come from outside and they are what I call shotgun guys, it doesn't work for us. They have to be basically very long-term guys. Your failure is fine, but your approach has to be long-term. And that's where BSE being the way it is, we like those kind of people. Each organization will have its own way of working with, or its own way of doing things. But ours is a extremely conservative way of doing things. And also we don't pay as much as the market does. So the person has to come largely for the pride of being the regulator, and also a person who can contribute to the nation more than anything else.
It was wonderful interacting with you, Ashish.
Okay,
Once
thank
again,
you.
thoroughly enjoyed talking.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.